Well, let's pick up on one of those, and that's Mateus Cunha there, because the speculation around his future has not just been limited to newspapers, to social media. It's actually been fueled in some ways by his contract situation, and also the quotes coming out of Vitor Pereira after the Chelsea game. So what do you make of that? Arsenal, Villa, Forest, among 5 Premier League clubs that could be interested in signing him. But Jurgen Strand-Larsen getting an injury, does that impact that? How do you see the way forward?
I think the only way they sell him is if they got a replacement, or 2 or 3 replacements, and they're going to strengthen the team. I think if they sell him and they don't bring anyone in, I think it tells you where the ownership is and where they think the club is at the moment. And effectively, if you sell your best player within the January transfer window, I think they go down. I think they're very close to going down anyway, because it shows a lack of ambition from the club. I think it's a tough one for the player, because he obviously will want to stay and not leave his teammates. But then if he's given an opportunity to then go and fight for a league title or Champions League places, it's a very, very tricky situation for the player. The contract situation has brought everything to life and shown where he's at, but he's got a tough decision to make, really tough decision to make. And the thing is as well, don't forget, people will say, oh, you shouldn't leave Wolves where they are. Football clubs aren't loyal. If they want you out at some point and you're not playing well, they'll get rid of you. So people often talk about loyalty within the game. The loyalty doesn't exist that much anymore within a game. There's very few who stay long term at one club for a full term of their career. He'll move on at some point. It's just as and when.
Right. I think the interview might have been very different if Arsenal hadn't won that game.
Oh, that's...
And our friend Chris Foy is with us here, of course, as he knew would be. I think it's quite unusual when there's such a controversial decision that there aren't actually, by and large, 2 camps. I'm sure there are some people who say, yes, absolutely, it was a red card. But I think it would be fair to say that the vast majority of people within football, former players, pundits, journalists, are like, they really don't understand why that was a red card. Do you understand that viewpoint?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And I think, to start off the conversation, my personal view is I don't think it was a red card, but I wasn't in the heat of battle. I wasn't in a high-octane football pitch, on a high-octane football pitch where Michael Oliver was, and he made a decision on what he saw at the time. And obviously the decision was checked by the VAR, which stood, and obviously it was a red card.
Well, let's come to VAR, because that's a separate issue altogether here. So you can't be sent off just because it's cynical, and you can't be sent off just because you made no attempt to play the ball. It has to be excessive force, seriously endangering an opponent. Is it really coming into any of that category?
It's termed as serious foul play, and I think what Michael Oliver does, he actually sees the studs of Lewis Skelly, make contact with the shin of Doherty. He's in a pretty good position, the referee. He sees that. He sees the boot goes down the shin onto the boot, and he's saying to himself, I know what I've seen. He's run it through his man, and he's gone for a red card because he felt it was excessive force and it endangered the safety of the Wolves player. And then he showed the red card, obviously, and sent him off.
Chris, will he look back at that and go, I got it wrong, or do you think he'll stick to what he's done? What the decision he's made?
Well, the big thing now with referees is they've never been more accountable. And at the match, at that game, there'll be a match delegate who's a former player or administrator from football, and they will look at that and he will review his performance and look at it. I think the big thing is with it, when you mentioned the VAR will have looked, and Michael would have said he's caught him on the shin, he's gone down, he's caught him on the boot, it's followed through, it's a red card. And what he said, the pictures don't really paint much of a different picture to what he said. But I think what this does is, Owen, what this does is, I think the speed is there. Yeah. I don't think the intensity is there, and I don't think it's excessive force. I mean...
He hasn't raked him, has he?
No, I mean, in my opinion, what I think this is, you can see they catch him on the shin, it continues down onto the boot, and I think what this is a real cynical foul.
Oh, 100%.
And what it does is, because he's travelling at pace as well, it stops that promising attack, because quite clearly the Wolves player would have been away, and the intention was to foul him, which he did.
What do you think, Owen?
No, I was just going to say, Michael Oliver's obviously made a mistake. Yeah, it can happen, right? Like players, people make mistakes. He saw it in real time, he thought, it was a red, whatever. That's what VAR is there for. Even if the VAR didn't think, he could have said to Michael, couldn't he? Michael, go have a look at the screen quick. Maybe go check it out for yourself. I don't want to overrule you because I don't want to undermine you, maybe. I don't know if they think like that. But just go look at the monitor. I'm sure he would have overturned it himself, wouldn't he, Michael?
Well, what you have to do is you've got to decide as a VAR that the referee has made what they call a clear and obvious error. What we're talking about here is a howler. That decision where everybody thinks, it's completely wrong. But
And that's the point. Everybody does think it's completely wrong. So it's built up a picture, to be blunt, Chris, of a VAR who is, I'm going to use the word, intimidated, not like a Sopranos way, intimidated by Michael Oliver's presence
Stature,
as our lead and stature as our leading referee. Oh, I can't tell Michael Oliver what to do. Whereas that's the whole point of VAR. As Owen says, Michael, I think you should go and have a look at it. Now, if Michael Oliver goes to have a look and goes, no, I'm sticking with the red, that's Michael Oliver's business. But the whole point is he hasn't even told him to go and have a look. Everyone's going, well, what is the point of VAR then?
Well, what's happened is Michael's made his decision on what he's seen. He's actually said, I've seen this. The VAR's looked at it and thought, well, I concur with what he's seen. I don't think that is a howler. Now, these guys are working together domestically and internationally. So, they are colleagues, they work together, they understand each other's workings. And I think in this situation, had it have been, they felt, the VAR felt it's a howler, then he would have asked him to go to the screen and recommend it. But what he's done is he's actually said, we go with the referee's decision, referee's call, which we're using this season, and they've stayed with the on-field.
Do you think it will be rescinded?
I don't know the answer to that question because it's 3 independent people. That's if Arsenal do appeal.
But there's a chance.
They may appeal. If they appeal, it goes to 3 independent people and they will make a judgment on that.
So are those independent people, who are they, former refs, all three?
I think there's an ex-ref, an ex-player, an ex-manager.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think they'll use that as a lesson going forward to how they decide with VAR and looking at the monitor. I think that's a great learning one for the refs.
Yeah, absolutely. Arsenal got the win, and that's important from their point of view. We'll see what happens if they do appeal. We'll have one more break, but in the final part of the show, we'll see the